All right, let's go on there. You ready, bro?
I am, brother.
All right. Three, two, one. Welcome back, y'all. It's another episode of the Blacktop podcast. Unfortunately, though, as you can see, our third here, the last of our big three is not here today. Christian's feeling a little sick. First of all, hope you feel better, cuzzo. But there's a lot of basketball to talk about, so the show must go on. Before that, though, we gotta talk about some takes. Reuben, my brother, do you have a take you want to present?
I do, but it's kind of stupid. It's just this is at this point. It's like this is just hopeless fan. It's just a hopeless fan wishing for the best. The Raptors will be the first team to come back from an 0-3 deficit. Now you might be like, you're crazy. Listen, Nick Nurse said it best. Once they get a win tomorrow, it'll be 3-1, and 3-1 has been done before. So let's look at it that way. And they're going against Doc Rivers, who's given up the most 3-1 leads of all time. So if we can win tomorrow, we take it one game at a time. So that's my hot take.
Respect. Yeah, I'm not gonna lie. If you're coaching against a Doc Rivers team and you're down in the series, I think you always have a chance. I'm not gonna lie. Uh, for me, my take is this postseason has confirmed that the Pelicans, I think, were one of the major winners from the draft. Now, when we think about the winners of the draft, you think about, your next generational piece, a person to add to your big three, so to say. And in my opinion, obviously the Pelicans didn't get anyone of that caliber, but what they have been able to do, I think, is really fill out their roster for when Zion does come back. I honestly think they have the potential to be a contender because you think about it. Herb Jones, a lot of people, even like Willie Green, their head coach, who has coached a guy like Mikal Bridges, compared him to him straight up. And not gonna lie, I don't think it's so far fetched to say that because Herb Jones, I think, has come into his first season as one of the best defenders, arguably at his position, not even as a rookie. I think he's already up there. And not only that, Trey Murphy, their first round pick, looking like a dude that can be a super solid spot up shooter. And the best of them, the short king himself, Jose Alvarado, the most peskiest defender, low key, like Pat Beverly and Marcelo Huertas rolled into one. But no, I think when you look at those three, I feel that as hard as it is to find like superstars in the draft, I think finding people that mesh well with your team already is a thing that's also underrated. And I think when you look at who the Pelicans were able to pick up through the draft and how they're playing right now, they had a very solid draft in hindsight. But yeah, that's my take. What do you
You know
think?
what? You kind of brought up a really good point. Like, it's either or for a lot of teams where the team has the number one option, a guy that they can win a chip with, but their supporting cast they can't really build around properly. Or if you look at a team where it's like they have the supporting cast, they have those supporting pieces, but they don't have that number one guy, it's so hard to find both. And you have to be lucky and you have to be perfect. I think the Pelicans were both lucky and they also have, underrated management with David Griffin, right? Um, yeah, they have Zion, who is clearly a number one piece, like when he's playing. But the matter is if he can sustain it for a long period of time, if his health is there. But they have a number one option. They have great surrounding pieces, Bi, CJ McCollum, Jonas Valanciunas, and then the young guys like you mentioned, Herb Jones, Trey Murphy, Jose Alvarado. These are the guys that you build around that piece, that around that number one guy, and you have that supporting cast, and they're all young, right? And that's the best part with a really good mixture of veterans. So I think, yeah, like you said, I agree that they are winners of the draft. I wouldn't say they're the winner, but obviously they are winners of the draft. When we initially thought that they wouldn't do very much in that draft, and then obviously we were very wrong. So, um, I'm interested to see how this team like continues to grow in the near future. And we're seeing them like obviously they're. I think we mentioned this like in a couple episodes before the playoffs that the Pelicans would give the Phoenix like a really competitive would give Phoenix really competitive games, and they
No,
have so
definitely.
far. So, um, yeah, this is just the start of that core. Hopefully, if Zion sticks around, I'd like him to stay in the smaller market and grow there. So yeah, we'll see where that team goes. But I really like their rookies.
Not only
Really
that,
like
but
their young pieces.
when you're looking towards next season, they have a Los Angeles pick, which is going to be a top 10 pick. So the rich are just
Yeah,
going to get richer. All right, heading from our takes, I must say though, playoff basketball is a beautiful thing, man. This has been like one of the best starts to the first rounds that I can remember in the past. There's been a lot of crazy games, a lot of close games, few blowouts here and there. But let's start with the Heat and the Hawks. This is a series that I mean, I had Heat in 4. What did you have, Ruben?
what did I say? I said five, right?
Yeah,
Or
I think
six?
you gave the Hawks one game,
Yeah, I think. Oh, yeah, five. I
and
think I
they
gave
got
it
that
early for the
today.
series.
Yeah, but you know,
Yeah,
first
I
few
mean,
games, how are you feeling?
I think we've seen what we were expecting, right? I mean, the Heat take home 2 games at home. They go on the road. You have Trey Young, who's a guy who can. Oh, stop
I'll just
recording.
keep going. I'll just convert it from this thing. Yeah,
Okay, you're good.
yeah. Sorry, go ahead.
Okay, okay. Yeah, so like, um, yeah, you come home. Trey Young's the kind of guy that can win you a game, and he definitely did that tonight with that nice floater in the lane. And yeah, I don't expect this to go very longer. I think Miami takes the next 2 games, and then that's it. It is what it is. I just don't think Atlanta has that. I don't think they have the pieces to withstand a long series, and I think tonight what kept them in it all along was their offense. Right? I think they have so many shooters. They have a lot of firepower. It was a high scoring game. So this will happen. Most teams, when you're in the playoffs, you're in there for a reason, and you manage to make it there, and so you're always going to have a fighting chance. You're always going to have a puncher's chance. So I don't know. What do you think about where the series goes? Because I don't know if it's worth talking about all that much in terms of like where how far this will go. Because I mean, again, Atlanta's missing Clint Capella too, right? And he's a big part of what they do. So
Yeah, no, I mean, whenever you have Trey Young, I think there's always a chance, but I do believe the luck is about to run out, and I do think Miami takes the next 2 games. But yeah, I think if the teams were healthy, I do think this is a series that would go at least at least 6. I think
yeah,
Clint Capella, I think, is one of an underrated center in his ability to rebound and being a lot threat for, honestly, in my opinion, probably one of the best. What do you call it? Lob throw? I don't know, but
yeah, lob
yeah, lob
throwers.
throwers. I think Trey Young's one of the best for that. But obviously, like we've always said, there's a lot of luck that goes into winning a chip, and obviously with the Hawks, it's not on their sides. Now, shifting from a series that seems like the narrative's already written on the wall, let's talk about one that I think has definitely been the biggest headline so far, and I think that's the Boston and the Nets series, which at this point in time, when you're listening, well, they're playing today when you're listening, but it's 2-0 Boston. I will say though, I think it is insane to I haven't heard anybody calling out sweep from what I've seen, but I do think a lot of people are very much in the process of starting to write down the Nets, but as shitty as a game as Kevin Durant played in game 2, I will never bet against those guys. I mean, again, as I said a lot, Milwaukee Bucks fans, some of y'all are delusional as fuck when Kevin Durant damn near fucking gamed the Bucks in game 7 if it wasn't for his foot. And that was the fact that he was playing by himself and the fucking James Harden with one hamstring. So, I do think, first of all, with Robert Williams III coming back, the Time Lord, their anchor is there. So I do think it is definitely going to be a tough task. But if there's anybody that has the ability to pull out the W and to pull the Nets out from under them, it's Kevin Durant and Kyrie Irving and Ben Simmons. I do think the Ben Simmons thing is interesting. I think I just played in my mind, bro. What if he comes back and it's like playing like a fucking MVP? But obviously that's not gonna happen. Regardless, yeah, a series is never really what's the word? A series is never really interesting or starts until a home team loses. That's been the case so far. All the home teams have taken their W's, and I'm not gonna lie, I expect the same thing to be in these next 2 games for Brooklyn.
yeah, I think there's so many things to unpack with this series, right? Like Kevin Durant's probably not going to shoot that poorly again. Robert Williams coming back is a huge help defensively. But here's also where I think that he might be a minus is what they've done so well in 2 games has been their ability to switch on everything. And because Brooklyn has so many non-shooters on the floor at times, whether it's Drummond, Bruce Brown, or Claxton, or a combination of the two on the floor at all times, what Boston's been able to do is they just switch everything, right? And so Brooklyn always tries to run that screen. They try to hunt the matchups down, but Boston's done a really good job of having versatile defenders who can come out on KD. Now, Rob Williams is a really good agile defender. He's got good lateral quicks. Obviously, he's a great defensive anchor. But on the offensive end, he's not going to make Brooklyn pay as much as Tyson Horford do on the perimeter. And that's been a major issue for Brooklyn all season long has been their ability to defend. Right? So when they can sit back on a guy and they can close the space a little bit, that makes it a lot harder to score in the half court. So I think Robert Williams is an interesting dynamic because to say that this team is worse with Robert Williams is stupid. I'm just saying the dynamic changes a lot on the floor between them offensively and defensively. So I think that'll be an interesting development. Like you said, Ben Simmons coming in, it's also the same thing, right? That's another non-shooter, but he's a guy that can defend. So it kind of you outweigh one balance or the other. I don't think, and I initially said, I what did I have? I think I had Boston in 6, right?
Yeah.
I think I had Boston. I think I had chosen Boston. And I'm going to stick with that prediction because I think they've just been so good on both ends. I think Brooklyn does take the next 2 at home. But Boston synergy is just on a whole different level, and I'm as much as I picked the Bucks to win this year, the Celtics are closely creeping up to I think this might be their year.
I think that's going to be a really good series next round, though. 100%.
Yeah. So, yeah, I think if they meet, obviously, in the second round, I think whoever comes out of that series comes out of the East. That's my honest and bold prediction on top of my thoughts of this series. Because, listen, playing Brooklyn in the first round, Kevin Durant and Kyrie Irving, is not an easy task. And they've come out and they've made a statement. So, I mean, we'll see. I think this is still going to be a really interesting series. But just the trend so far is that when they get punched, they answer back. And then they continue to ride that momentum. And their synergy on both ends is just crazy right now. So, yeah. That's where I'm going with that.
Yeah, no doubt. I think that and having the glove sitting courtside and you just won DPOY, you had to show up. For me, I did have it that if Robert Williams III comes back, I have Celtics in 7. I'm gonna stick with that. So initially I had Nets in 6, but I did have that little kicker. I do think that Brooklyn has a lot of veteran experience on their team. They have guys that have been to the finals. They have a guy that's hit arguably the biggest shot in NBA history with Kyrie Irving. A guy that would absolutely fucking dog Bob Cousy.
I can't believe that's an actual conversation. I can't believe that was an actual
conversation. That is disgusting.
That makes sense for Blacktop Showdown, not First Take. You gotta be kidding me. Who even was that guy that was talking on that show? I'm glad JJ Redick ate him up.
Mad Dog? I don't know, but no, I think Celtics in 6 or 7. I think the Nets have enough firepower to really get back into this series, but having their defensive anchor back and just how much syncopation the Celtics are playing with, I do think they're going to be able to pull it out eventually. Yeah. Now, heading from one of the most exciting ones, we're heading to the one that came out with the headline, "Do we know why this game is still going on?" It's the Bucks and the Bulls. So, obviously, the big elephant in the room is the Chris Middleton injury. I will say, though, I didn't see a lot of people freaking out. I myself am not freaking out just based off the fact that, well, I don't know if this is all true because they could just be BSing, but apparently it is just an MCL sprain. If you guys don't know why the Time Lord has been out for the Celtics, he tore that shit, which I think is that's insane that he's back that quick. I do hope it doesn't backfire them, knock on wood, but bringing this back to the Bucks. I think a lot of people forget the fact that the Bucks were able to go into the finals and were able to take those last two games in Atlanta without Giannis. Granted, the Hawks had a hobbled Trae Young. Regardless, this is a team that's dealt with adversity before. This is a team that's, been down some of their best players and been able to really grind it out. I don't see that changing at all. I mean, looking at Game 3, a lot of people probably thought, the Bucks are going to come in as like a wounded animal. They're going to probably, you know, the Bulls might be able to jump on their heels. And look what happened. A 30-point blowout. And I will say, though, the Bulls just didn't even show. Like, I get that the game was pretty out of hand by the time the fourth quarter rolled around, but where's your pride, man? You can't lose by 30 in a playoff game, and right after you get the crazy amount of momentum there. And not even that. It wasn't even Giannis that pieced them up, man. The White Iverson. Grayson Allen led the team in scoring with 22 points. And not only that, bifocal Portis, bifocal Bobby almost had a 20-20 game. I mean, Reuben, I think you saw my tweet earlier. The United Center is going to be the Bobby Center tonight, and I do believe that is partially true. But initially I had this as Bucks in 4. I just think it's going to be a gentleman's sweep now. Giannis, even though he didn't have a dominant game, led our team in assists with 9. And not only that, Javon Carter didn't have any points, but gave us 4 assists, what I think is much more important than if he were to have even 10 points. I think the fact that he gives us another dynamic ball handler, another guy that's able to help people find their shots, I love that shit. Now, the elephant in the room, though, is Drew Holiday. Solid game, but I think just the fact that, again, you're down your closer, you're down the guy that you go to when in the clutch, Chris Middleton. I do want to see a big game from Drew, but regardless, if the Bulls are getting pounced by 30 points, that's just if I really want to be nitpicky about it. But yeah, I think that there's no need to worry. The Bucks have been in this kind of situation before. When I genuinely thought Giannis wasn't going to play in the finals last year. That dude's knee went fucking backwards. But no, I think, don't worry, be happy. Everything going to be okay. Bucks in 5.
Yeah. Well, we both said sweep, right, at the beginning of the series. So I think, in 5 games, I'm just really disappointed, like you said, in how the Bulls came out so timid when you're at home. I was really shocked at that because they really took it to Milwaukee in the second game. Granted, Chris Middleton was out. Yeah, I wasn't impressed with the amount of fight that they had, and man, you cannot. It's so hard for you to win when your best player is absolutely cannot guard anybody, and Vucevic, DeMar, and Zach LaVine are not at all positive defensive players. And you saw that tonight, man. They couldn't get any stops. They couldn't put together runs. Their play style is so predicated on them being good offensively. But when you are playing against a team like Milwaukee, who is so good on both ends, you have single-handedly one of the best defenders in the league. Actually, sorry too. I was thinking Giannis off the top of my head, but you talking about Drew Holiday is probably the best perimeter defender in the league. Him and Marcus Smart are in a different conversation. It's a different game. It's a different game in the playoffs, and I just felt like there was so much timidness. I was really disappointed in the way DeMar kind of followed up with his performance. I mean, you would think that you would come out so much stronger, thinking, "Hey, we're going home and we just beat this team. We can do it again, and they're without Chris Middleton." I was really disappointed in their fight, but also this is what we kind of saw at the second half of the season with the Bulls, right? That's why they fell from first to sixth. That's why they even started flirting with a play-in, right? So it's really disappointing because I was high on their bandwagon at the beginning of the season when they had Lonzo and they looked really good on both ends and they were running the floor. They were playing with a lot of synergy. But it sucks. You got to run into the defending champs. So it is what it is at this point. I mean, it's me just kind of letting out my disappointment because as much as I picked the Milwaukee Bucks to win, I was hoping I would see a really good fight from the Bulls, and obviously I'm a big DeMar fan, but we didn't get that tonight. So I think Bulls fans are obviously very disappointed.
Yeah, no, I 100% agree with that. I think that as much as I was happy that the Bucks won, playoff basketball is about having some nice close games. These are about games that
Yeah,
come down in the clutch, and this game was over by the end of the first quarter.
yeah.
Granted, we'll
Those are
see.
important reps. Those are
100%.
important reps for your young players and for guys who've never been in there before, like Zach LaVine, and obviously Vucevic hasn't been there for very much. I mean, they have Caruso, who's their champion. They're literally their one piece, right? Who plays consistently and but is the only one with any experience in there. It's important reps, but when the game's over, it's basically decided by the first quarter. Man, you're wasting these reps. You're wasting these opportunities to keep growing as a team. And yeah, it's too bad, unfortunately.
Yeah, no, the one player I think I really want to see turning things around is Zach LaVine. We haven't seen him take over games, which is something he definitely has the ability to do. I think he's been neutralized quite a bit. We'll see what happens the rest of the series, but if there was one thing that I'm pretty disappointed with, aside from the fight that you mentioned earlier that they were showing, it's the fact that Zach LaVine he hasn't shown that all-star caliber that he has the capability of. Now, heading from there, Reuben, I'm just gonna hand it off to you, man. It's the Sixers and the Raptors, buddy. You just go ahead.
Yeah, you know what? Okay, so there's a lot to unpack here also. So Toronto, we had picking them in seven. The first two games, the foul disparity was a conversation that needed to be had because the game was obviously called and officiated in favor of Joel's playstyle and James's playstyle, which is hunting contact. Which obviously, if you are fouling and you can't defend when they're barreling down and when they're posting up, granted, yes, that's true. Toronto had a lot of ticky-tack fouls in the first two games, and I won't deny that. But there were also a lot of calls that are bang-bang plays that could have been called on the other end, which didn't happen. It's crazy the stat got thrown around in the first game where the first half, Philly had 26 free throw attempts and Toronto had 8. That is a huge disparity. And it's not like Toronto wasn't attacking the rim. Pascal was attacking. Scotty was attacking. So the foul disparity and the way the officiating was in the first two games already hurt them. And so you're kind of, yeah, you're playing 5-on-8. So that already dictates a lot of the pace of the play in Philadelphia's court. So that's one thing. Scotty goes down with an injury. Gary Trent, he apparently had, I want to say this correctly, anemia? Or sorry, not anemia. Pneumonia. He had pneumonia.
Oh fuck, that's
Gary Trent had
bad.
pneumonia. Yeah. He was throwing up prior to game 1 and game 2. He sat out the rest of game 2. He played game 3, shot the lights out. He was awesome. Scotty's injured. Obviously, he's such a dynamic player for the Toronto Raptors. He's so important to their success and has been their most consistent player all season long. Played 74 games. And he's basically started all of them. So, you don't have one of your main guys. You don't have one of your main guys. And Thad went down with an injury as well. So there were just so many things against Toronto's favor that didn't allow them to really add a fight in this series. We go to game 3. They lost that game. I just don't think they made the adjustments. They had the opportunities to ice the game. Precious Achiuwa had 2 free throws to ice the game. If he hit at least one, the game was over. But, he missed it. OG Anunoby had a chance, right? To put them up. Missed the free throws. Regardless, it wouldn't have mattered anyways because Joel ended up hitting that 3, right? Was it a 3 or a 2? It was a 3, right?
No, it was a 3. Yeah.
It was a 3. He stepped back. So, but the biggest thing to me that I'm really disappointed in is Toronto really never played their brand of basketball. And that is being able to fly around, defensive rotations on point. They play a scramble type of defense, which is really different and unique from everyone else in the league when they go Project 6-9 that everyone's been calling it. When they have literally Scotty, Pascal, OG, Precious, and Chris Boucher on the floor, or Thad Young, whoever they throw in, Kem Birch. They're flying around, and what made them so great was they had 5 players who had the length and the size who can cover the ground and recover. But the reason why a lot of it didn't work is because it's a young team, and I want to emphasize that it's a young team. If you took Thad Young off of the roster, this is the youngest team in the league. If I'm not mistaken. I'm pretty sure they are either the youngest or one of the youngest teams in the league, based on age average. Maybe we can do a quick calculation on that. You're probably going to take a look at that.
Oh yeah,
But
1 second.
but the team was projected to win 27 to 33 games this season. Toronto was not expected to be in the playoffs this year. They said at best that Toronto was going to be a play-in team. This is the first season without Kyle Lowry. This is also the first season that Pascal Siakam and Fred VanVleet have to lead the team. OG Anunoby, Gary Trent Jr., Fred, Pascal, all of their key players missed a significant amount of time. And yeah, again, this is a team with a lot of inexperienced players that are playing heavy minutes. And quite frankly, I think also what happens is when your stars don't show up, like Pascal and Fred VanVleet, that's hard to win. When your stars need to get you a bucket, when they need to be the guys in the moment and they're unable to show up, that's difficult for you. That's difficult for any team to win. If your star guys don't show up, listen, we saw it. Denver, they shut down Jokic. They couldn't do anything. Kevin Durant and Kyrie Irving have been basically neutralized for 2 games, and they haven't been able to do anything. Minnesota managed to win a game because they managed to take Ja Morant out of the game. When your star guys are in trouble or they're unable to produce, you're not going to be able to win games. So yeah, I'm assuming you're still putting those calculations together, but I'm proud of the way that Toronto has fought. Again, the series isn't technically over, but it is because no one's ever come back from an 0-3 deficit. So I'd say I think they'll win tomorrow and then maybe lose in Philadelphia in Game 5. And then chalk it up as I think a disappointing end to a really good and important season. You got playoff reps for your young guys. You guys managed to be another winning team. You clearly were able to see and evaluate your own pieces and what you have, and then what you can use to trade and get better. Clearly, this team can build around Scotty, OG Anunoby, Gary Trent Jr., Fred VanVleet, and Pascal have to look in the mirror this summer. And then I think what they've done in terms of changing their play style with going Project 6-9 is I think it works. It works, but there's some glaring needs that this team needs to address this summer, and I'm putting that a lot on Masai. And I hope Nick Nurse also looks in the mirror because I think he was coached as Doc Rivers coached circles around Nick Nurse this series. I just don't think the adjustments were made. Offensive sets were awful in the half court. It just felt like, at one point, Pascal Siakam was deferring to Precious Achiuwa to come up with a basket in the clutch moment. You can't do that. You can't. It's either got to be your star guy to take that ball or you run an offensive set. And we didn't see those adjustments. So anyways, a lot to unpack. My long-winded answer of saying disappointing end, great year, important year of development. This season was supposed to be rebuild anyway. Nick Nurse never came out and said, we're aiming for the playoffs. We want to win, obviously, as a franchise, but it's all about developing these guys, and I think they got that this year. So, let's see where it goes. Obviously, I had my hot take at the beginning of the show saying Toronto in 7. They'll be the first team to come back from 0-3. But if they don't, then it is what it is, and kudos to Philly, because this is a team that's built to win right now. So, yeah, if they win, I'm not going to be surprised if they do. It is what it is. I'm sure you have a little bit to add to that. I'm sorry, I went on a bit of a rant and a tangent there, but I think I echo a lot of the thoughts of Raptors fans that unfortunately you just didn't play good enough. You want to blame it all on the refs. You want to say they were all injured. Listen, Toronto just didn't play their brand of basketball, and a lot of that falls on inexperience and Philly just being so much more talented and better. And Doc Rivers just coached a better series thus far. It is what it is. It is what it is. All the other factors didn't help, but, you You play basketball, the games are played, and you can't really argue with the results afterwards.
Yeah, no, 100%. When it comes to the age thing, what I found, I think it's the average age for the Raptors is 25.9, and then the youngest is the Thunder, which are 23.9. So I think if you take off that, they're probably definitely, if they're not the youngest, they're like right behind them.
Hmm.
But I think what I would have to add is just that I do think the main thing they're lacking is, I think, a traditional center. There's a lot of guys that have that ability to be hybrids and the fact that they're able to switch, but you know, as great as this team is, I think the fact that they don't have that size has probably been one of the detriments to them, aside from the fact that they haven't been able to play their basketball. I mean, I one of the one of the possessions I remember vividly was when Pascal. I don't even remember. I don't even know if I should use the word vividly, but all I remember was the fact that Pascal did that, like when you're in your first time playing basketball, like organized basketball, you don't know where to pass off to, and then you just chuck up some shit. I think there's been far too many possessions of that. Granted, if they are able to pull it off, James Harden should not make the Hall of Fame. No. All things set aside, if that were to happen, first of all, like we've said, that would be the first time that would ever happen in NBA history. But the one person that you pray to God would never happen to is James Harden. Another man that he doesn't show up in a series. Nah, but
Yo, I gotta say, if that were to happen, you gotta strip Doc Rivers off the top 15 coach list, and you gotta throw
oh,
Nick
you
Nurse.
gotta fire that man if you blow a
He's
4-0
gotta be
lead.
fired if he loses an 0-3 deficit. He's got to be stripped off the top 15 coaches of all time. He's got to be replaced with Nick Nurse. I mean, brother, can you imagine if that were to happen? I know this is such wishful thinking because
Oh
the
my god.
probability of it happening is literally zero because it's never happened. But holy shoot, can you imagine if there's a team that could actually pull it off if fully healthy? It would be Toronto.
Yeah, and if there's a coach that would let it happen, it's Doc Rivers.
Exactly.
no, no, like you said earlier, Ruben, I think regardless of how disappointing it's in, we got to remember that they're playing with house money. This is a team where they were not expected to be here, but obviously, with an amazing pick like Scotty Barnes, the continued emergence of guys like Gary Trent Jr., the All Star season out of Fred Van Vliet, this is just like, yeah, it's just a disappointing end to like such an overachieving season, but I mean, Raptors in 7. No, I think the last thing I had to add is just the fact that I think it's going to be interesting to see what happens these next few games, and if Joel is limited based off like what they're saying about his thumb.
Yeah.
And I will say though, like Tyrese Maxey's a fucking demon.
Oh my goodness.
Oh my
Sorry, I didn't give him any
goodness.
credit.
What did he have? Like he had 38 in
He
game
had
one.
38 in game two.
Oh,
Man,
game
he
two.
has like the amount of young players that have broken out and Jordan Poole, this kid, I mean just Anthony Edwards.
Jalen Brunson.
Yeah, the kid ate up the Raptors and made them pay. I mean, just dude, he is so good, man. I would pay to have him on the Raptors. Like, damn,
And
what a player.
it's worth mentioning too that a lot of these role players that are showing up are guys that were picked late. Maxi was what, 28th or 29th?
Yeah,
Jordan
he was
Poole was
insane draft.
30th. Jalen Brunson was in the second round. Desmond Bain had 26th the other night. He was picked in the last pick of the first round. But yeah, no, Tyrese Maxey I think has really been. I think he's been the main X factor here. He's a guy that went into the playoffs with 12 games of playoff experience. That's cool and all, but it was obviously in a reserve role. And now we're seeing that once the training wheels are off and this guy's given the keys in a sense as like the third option is insane. Not only that, I think Tobias Harris has obviously he's never going to play to that max contract you give him, but I think he's giving them a lot of relief because I mean, what's he averaging this series? It's definitely I
He's
want to
playing
say
well.
15 to 18 points per game, right?
Yeah, he's playing well. He's hitting the
Yeah.
ball and he's defended Pascal really well as well. Like throughout this series. Yeah, I mean, look, the guys are stepping up, and that's what you want to happen. And when Tobias and Maxi, Danny Green had a really good shooting night the other night. I mean, and,
Mm,
and Doc Rivers made such a smart coaching move to move Thibault to the bench and start Danny Green
yeah.
because they knew that, okay, they needed to prepare for when Thibault is not able to play in Toronto, so they have some form of a rhythm when they start to games. I mean, just Doc Rivers has coached this series well thus far, and the guys are stepping up to playing well together. Um, George Niang, man, hit some like some big bad time shots against the Raptors. I mean, yeah, you got to give credit to where credit is due. Philly has played like they have played a really good series, man, and they made bigger shots. They've defended well. I mean, yeah, nothing more that I can say from a disappointed Raptors fan.
Yeah, no, they're playing like a team that could genuinely come out the East, 100%.
Yeah, yeah.
Now, with that, let's head over to the conference we are in, the Western Conference. So, this is right after this first game, or this third game ended. As it is right now, the Phoenix Suns took a 2-1 lead over the New Orleans Pelicans. Now, I think both of us had this about Suns in 5 or 6, right? Give or take.
Yeah, we I think I said five.
I think I did too, but then
I
I
think
think
you did.
I get the 6 as like, the hopeful, the wishful thing.
Yeah, yeah. I think well, we talked about it. We said that this was going to be a short series, but every game was going to be fun and competitive, just because we felt like the Pelicans have those pieces. I think this might go longer now that I'm thinking about it, because Devin Booker is out for an amount of time that they haven't put a time limit on, if I'm not mistaken. So this could go six, this could go seven, because like the Pelicans have a lot of firepower and they're defending really well. Phoenix obviously came out the win tonight, but this has been a fun series, surprisingly fun series. For me.
No, 100%. I think Bi is just a guy that's continuing to showcase that. Can you imagine how much further along he'd be if he was in LA? Granted, I think things happen for a reason. There's that's why he's been able to blossom into the player he is now. But Brandon Ingram, everybody keeps giving him that young KD nod. Granted, I think he's a couple steps behind of that because I think Bi is what 24, 25, and by that time Kevin Durant had already won a couple scoring titles. But I do think there's definitely that mold there. I think when you have that guy as technically your second option, that is insane. Can you imagine if Zion was in this series? Well, granted, first of all, the Pelicans wouldn't have been the eighth seed, but
Hmm.
man, if these teams are both healthy, that'd be chef's kiss. No,
Yeah.
but
Well, we're talking about a different team because CJ didn't join them until after the trade deadline too.
that
So
too, yeah.
it'll be interesting to see what they look like with a full year next year, all healthy. So um, yeah, it's been a fun series.
I will. On that note, I do hope they put either Herb or Bi in that second guard role because I think Herb's played too well to go back to go to the bench next season.
Yeah, it's difficult though because CJ's not a point guard, so I think
Mm,
that's they're gonna have to figure out how that looks. I mean,
point
to be
Zion,
fair,
baby.
yeah, I mean, yeah, you could move him on the bench. You could go small. You could go Zion, Bi, Herb Jones, and bring JV off the bench. But then you also have Jackson Hayes. I mean, they have pieces to work with too, right? In the off season. Obviously that's a different conversation, but they've got pieces to use to move to get better, or they can continue to grow at the rate that they're at. I think their biggest hole is obviously the point guard spot because they experimented with Devonte Graham. It hasn't worked. Alvarado is good, but how much can he sustain play against elite talent on a nightly basis?
Yeah, I don't see him as a starter. He's definitely your nice little like gadget
Yeah,
point guard here and there kind of guy.
exactly. He's very much filling that Matthew Dellavedova role, and I think that's fine. There's nothing wrong with that. But you got to fill that hole, and CJ's not a he's not a natural point guard playmaker. So we'll see. Um, I wouldn't mind Herb Jones going to the bench. I just think there's so much front end talent on the Pelicans for him to start. But I get where you're coming from though.
Yeah, but on the topic of the Pelicans, I do think they're the equivalent of the Raptors here, where, you know, they have all the expectations stacked against them, and they don't give a fuck about that. I do think this series goes to at least 6. I think with the fact that Devin Booker's not playing, it's definitely looking like it's going to go a little longer. Granted, I think tonight was a very winnable game for them, but then, you know, Chris Paul, another dude who would absolutely dog Bob Cousy, showed up because he scored. I think he scored when the Suns were down that last little bit. He scored their like next 8 points straight. Not only that, DeAndre Ayton's showing up already again and improving on that finals run he had last year, and just showing that this dude should have been got his extension.
Yeah, we forget sometimes how special Chris Paul is, right? It just kind of happens, but you know he showed up tonight, and you know he'll continue to remind people throughout these playoffs that he's really one of the greatest point guards ever to play the game.
I have a homie who thinks he's the greatest. Honest, I don't know if I agree. I don't agree with that, but I do think
he's in the conversation for sure.
100%. I think to strictly use rings is I don't like that debate.
No argument.
It's a big, you know, it's a big part of it, but yeah, I do agree it's dumb. But no.
Well, I'm going to say that rings when it comes to point guards isn't, because like while the past few years has been great point guards that have won, if you look at history, like it's never been the best point guard. It's always just typically been Kobe, LeBron, Kevin Durant.
I mean, when we look at the point guard position, you know, some of the best guys to do it don't have a fucking ring. John Stockton.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. So, I mean, like, if we're going to use that conversation and we're going to put these guys in and say he doesn't have a ring, well, John Stockton doesn't have a ring either. Allen Iverson doesn't have a ring either. He's probably more of a shooting guard, but, I mean, I'm just saying, right? So...
This whole conversation is just to say, you know, Suns in 5 or 6. You know, as amazing as the Pelicans have shown out to be, as much firepower as they do have, I just think the Suns' experience is something that, you know, will outweigh that a lot. That and having guys like one of the greatest point guards to do it, one of the best wings in Mikal Bridges, one of the best young centers in DeAndre Ayton, and the greatest power forward of all time, Jay Crowder. You know, Pelicans don't stand a punch. Whatever. Do you have any like little thoughts about this series, Reuben? Or
no, not anymore. I mean, about Phoenix and the Pelicans, I think we both just kind of expected to go 6, and you know, with Devin Booker being out, I think
heading towards that, yeah.
Yeah, but it's a fun series. It's been a fun one to watch. I've enjoyed the series, seeing Monty Williams and Willie Green coach it out, and yeah, that's pretty much it.
Yeah, I think it's the most underrated series of the first round.
Yeah,
but
I agree.
From there, let's talk about the Grizzlies and the Timberwolves. I mean, Chris Finch that's some sus-ass coaching, man. You blow 2 20-point leads, you don't call a fucking timeout? That is insane. You know, I watched like, you know KOT4Q, right? Of course you do. You know.
Yeah, of course.
He was going through the Timberwolves Reddit page, and a lot some of them were like, "Don't give this fucker the max extension for Karl Anthony Towns." I think as much as who's the player as much as Zach LaVine and DeMar DeRozan have been disappointing at times, man, Karl Anthony Towns has definitely been probably the worst. This is a guy that's supposed to be. Well, I heard that. For all NBA teams, I don't think they're going to have 2 centers on it from what I've seen. But this is a guy who will probably be all NBA third team and has had 2 duds within his... No, this isn't his first playoff series because they went with...
No, it's not, because he was with them back in, what was that?
When Jimmy was the man. In his first series as the guy, as their number 1 option, their leader, he probably hasn't even... I think his biggest has been 28, 30, and like, but either way, there's been 2 games where he's been rendered utterly useless. But I will say the biggest thing to take away from this is just the fact that I think, what was it? It was like an insane run. Memphis went on a 15-0
run.
That, and like if you include both comebacks, 15-16. that was like their overall run to win Game 3, which I think just speaks first of all to how amazing of a team that Memphis is. They're a team that never really played like they were out, which is something that Chicago could take away from. And not only that, it's the fact that Ja definitely had his paws on this game, but Desmond Bane, man, that dude's a fucking dog. 7 threes, 26 points. Man, it's just he's growing into one of my favorite players on the team, I will say. Not only that, you get some nice production out of a nice rookie, Zaire Williams. I do think it was a smart decision to not necessarily axe Steven Adams, but to start Jaren Jackson Jr. and Kyle Anderson over him. I think that proved to be effective at times. And man, this Memphis team is fucking rolling. I think their chests are pounded up, man. They're in Minnesota now. And shoot, man, this is as much as the series has been blowouts here and there, it is very interesting in that, again, these are two of the youngest teams right now. And for a lot of these guys, this is their first taste of playoff basketball, or maybe it's their second, whatever it is. Man, it's I just fucking love playoff basketball, man. But Grizzlies in 6.
Yeah, I mean, you mentioned a good thing about the Jaren Jackson adjustment because they wanted to be able to match the versatility of Karl Anthony Towns offensively and defensively, and they've done a good job of neutralizing that. And that's what Memphis is really good at, is being able to throw different looks. They can go super big with Steven Adams and Jaren Jackson, or they can go small and versatile with, with Slow-Mo at the 4, JJ at the 5. They can even play Xavier Tillman, who's been awesome for them
Oh
this
yeah,
year.
he's been giving them some crazy good backup
Bouncy
minutes.
Canadian boy, Brendan Clark. I mean, he's been awesome this
Vancouver
year.
Mendham, bro.
Yeah, I mean, listen, they've got a really deep team, and they've done a really good job. Taylor Jenkins has coached the hell out of this team, and I think he should and very well win a Coach of the Year. Chris Finch, man, how do you not call a timeout? And I understand, because I've been there before. Obviously, when you play on a team and you go and the opposing team goes on a run against you, your coach is gonna let you try to figure it out a little bit. You need to kind of go through the fire before you figure out how to put the rain on, right? And so, but to be 21-0 run, to not call a timeout is absolutely ridiculous. And so, I'm gonna double down on what Charles Barkley said again. Is this team is one of the stupidest teams I've ever seen play basketball. Shot selection, defensive rotations, pace of the game, like turning the ball over, coaching. Like, how do you not call a timeout after even just a 10-0 run? That's a huge run, and you allow them to ride that momentum continuously. With Cat playing awful, his game is not great for the playoffs if he's not back to the basket. And so when your big guy, your main threat, isn't a threat inside, that your game is so much harder to open up because then everything starts farther out. If you can't play inside out in the playoffs, that is so hard for you. It's harder for you to get dribble penetration. Unless obviously your main point of attack is a guy who gets to the rim, which is what Ja Morant does so well, is getting into the paint, kicking it out, and then starting the action again. Man, this team loves to dribble the ball up, tween, couple few times, step back, mid-range jumper, and it's great when they're hitting. But when they're not, you live and die by that shot and that offense, and the pace of play is totally against. It's totally against you, and it helps the other team get back into the game, and that's what we saw in Game 3. I still have Minnesota winning in 7 because of the fact that despite how stupid they are, they've made this a series.
They have really
And
good starts. I mean, obviously the fact they got into those 20-point leads, but yeah.
Yeah, it easily could be 2-1. It easily could be 2-1 for Minnesota right now if they weren't so stupid. So I will continue to give them the benefit of the doubt that I'll give them 7 games because they're really talented and Anthony Edwards has been a freaking bomb. Like, he has, dude. Anthony Edwards, man, like
Oh,
there's nothing more like we already talked about Tyrese Maxey. We're talking about Anthony Edwards now. When we talk about the Golden State series, when Jordan Poole's name come up, I'm just gonna be speechless because like these guys have just like it's been awesome to see these young guys show out and
the
truly
league is in
show.
such good hands.
Yeah, the league isn't good. That's what I'm saying. The league is in such good hands, and I think that's been the beauty of this playoffs is seeing these young guys kind of show out. Like I'm happy even if we're looking at Toronto, OGN and Obi, finally gets his flowers after only playing 40 something games this year, and people saying trade him because all he is a 3-and-D player, and he ends up being the number one option throughout the series. He looks like Jason Tatum out there, and everybody else looks like they shat their pants. Tyler Hero was playing awesome for Miami. Like the league is in such good hands, man. And this series has been just a showcase of that with both the young talent on both sides. Um, but yeah, I mean, this is gonna be. I think this is gonna continue to be a long series. I'm happy with whatever way it goes because I really like Memphis. The only reason why I'm picking Minnesota is because I think their front end talent has been really good, and if Cat just is able to put one game together, one or two games together, I think this is a series that falls in their favor.
100%. I think, the Minnesota Timberwolves are like Buddy Heald. They're either
Yeah,
really fucking good
yeah.
or really fucking shite.
Oh, Buddy Hield, man. Oh, dude, that's such a good comparison, though.
No,
I've never heard that. That's so perfect, though.
I definitely don't think Memphis has another big blunder like that again. If they do, I mean, Chris Mitch is cool and all, but that's
Yeah,
like
he's
that's like
fired.
some other shit that you gotta get kicked for. Now,
Yeah.
speaking from one crazy shooting guard, let's talk about another one. We got the Golden State and the Nuggets series. First of all, Reuben, if I'm not mistaken, you had Nuggets in 6, yes?
I did have Nuggets in 6, but what did I also say? I said it
You,
was a hell of a hot take,
that's
so
true. That's true. But I just
it is
think the
a hot
fact
take.
that you were even
No,
willing to
that's
say
fair.
that.
No, that's fair. I'll bite this one. I'll bite this one. I totally said 6 because I thought Jokic was going to get the benefit of the calls that Joel Embiid is.
Mm,
I thought he was going to be the beneficiary of some of the officiating that he's had all season long, but it's hard to get that when you are defended by reputation. Draymond Green. He has been so freaking good for the Warriors. He's completely neutralized Jokic. He has been the core reason why Golden State has been just an offensive juggernaut. Um, he's the heart and soul of that team, and so he's really put them on their back. As good as Jordan Poole's been, Draymond Green has been the MVP of this series just because he's been able to control both sides of the floor so well. Yeah, I'm sad that Jokic didn't get the benefit of the calls. It's obviously disappointing that the supporting cast just hasn't been very good. I mean, obviously the last game was very tight, but what are you gonna do, man? You don't have Jamal Murray and Michael Porter Jr., so this is not surprising by any chance. I just honestly, last episode, I just want to be crazy and say, hey man,
I
Jokic
mean,
and the Nuggets 6.
if Jokic, by some fucking miracle, man, if this becomes the second for team to come back from 0-3, Nikola Jokic is top 5 already, man.
Yeah, he's gotta be the greatest center of all time, man.
100%.
Damn.
Well, no,
But
I think they're just outgunned here. I think
yeah,
Steph Curry's the greatest sixth man of all time. Klay Thompson looks like he's finally somewhat back to his old self. Jordan Poole is looking like the best offensive player on that team right now. I mean, what is it? It's like 90 plus points in his first 3 playoff games. That's insane. Like, no,
yeah, he's just. I think. Well, he's obviously creating a lot for himself, and what he has too is he has that size and length that he's the ability to shoot over players.
mm,
He's got some crazy agility, right? His ability to pick up the ball off balance and still able to square up. I mean, he looks like a completely different player, and when you know that a guy can kind of switch it on, you know what this reminds me a lot of? The bubble between Donovan Mitchell and Jamal Murray, where they kind of broke out and they showed that, okay, in the playoffs, these guys kind of show when the lights are on.
mm.
That's how you know when they're the stars, and they've become that. Jordan Poole is that same guy. I think he's going through that same trajectory those guys kind of did. And I think that's right in the same mold, anyways, right? Jordan Poole, the way he plays, there's a lot of similarities to a Donovan Mitchell and a Jamal Murray. Dude, just
it's not fucking
I
fair,
said
man.
I said I was gonna be speechless, bro. Like
This is
these young guys showing out has been so fun for me because, like, some we both grew up in this era of LeBron James, Kobe Bryant, and then now slowly seeing these guys obviously leave the league. And then Giannis, Jokic. I mean, these guys are reaching the 30s, and then now you're seeing like the John Morants. Yeah, man, the league is in good hands, and this series is pack it up and leave it. It's over. On to the next, and Denver just get healthy because I honestly feel like when they get those two guys back next
oh, if
season,
they're
I think
healthy, they're a contender. I think
yeah,
if they're healthy, they're contending.
100%.
You know what's funny though? Can you imagine if Jokic wins MVP and they give it out Game 4 and then they get fucking swept?
Well, that probably might happen because obviously, I'm also surprised about Rookie of the Year. I mean, I think they should just announce those. I
Yeah,
mean,
I don't know why Defensive Player of the Year was the first one to be announced when that one was like, not necessarily like, I don't even know what I'm trying to say, but Rookie of the Year I think should definitely just
timing. No, I get you.
That and why the fuck is the Sportsmanship Award announced before like all the other major ones that people like fully know about?
Yeah. Well, I think some of the votes are casted differently, and they're asked to come in different times. So, like, I think the vote, the counting, the tally is different. But come on, man,
No,
like,
Rookie of the Year should have already been announced. That's
yeah.
insane.
But well, I hope it's Scotty. I mean, I hope it's him.
I've heard that right now it's looking like it's Evan,
Yeah,
which I
which
think
is
is
unfortunate.
uh, that's bull.
Yeah,
Yeah, no,
he's
but
also missed so much time. But anyways,
yeah, sure.
I digress.
It's just the main thing, man. The main takeaway is, in the words of Klay Thompson, it's a pool party. Hey,
Gotta go swimming, bro.
hot take, man. If the Golden State Warriors win, Jordan Poole's gonna start dating Malika Andrews.
Bro, man, hey, listen. That is a championship. If he managed to date Malika Andrews,
Bro,
we over here are stands of Malika Andrews.
love you, Malika.
Oh my,
Everybody loves a pool party. All of a sudden, now.
get it done, Jordan. Get it done.
Alrighty. Okay, the last series to talk about, which is the one I think has been the biggest, like nobody could have called this, is the Mavs and the Jazz. As it is right now, y'all probably think the Jazz will be winning if you have been watching, but the Luka Doncic-less Dallas Mavericks are playing incredible basketball. I know. Jalen Brunson showing why he should be getting his bag. Rudy Gobert is the most overrated defender, and Donovan Mitchell is not going to be in a Jazz uniform that much longer.
Yeah, he's gonna be in a Raptor uniform. I hope. Dude, that could happen though. That could happen.
I mean,
Pascal in a Toronto uniform is looking against the odds. Dude, looks like it's a little swap of family.
no.
Donovan Mitchell of the Raptors. I'm just saying that.
I mean, we've seen it before. We've seen him in the Vince Carter jersey.
I'm saying, brother.
No, but the Mavericks are just playing amazing basketball.
Yeah.
The fact that there was that game where Maxi Kleber got subbed off, and you're finally like, oh, thank fuck, we can finally breathe. What happens? Davis Bertans turns it up and shows his old self. I think I was definitely on this wagon, but a lot of people were so quick to write him off. I'm not saying I saw him like coming out like this, but there's a reason he got paid the money he did. He's one of the best like catch and shooters in this league, and we've seen that, and like him finally coming out a bit. But main thing here is Jalen Brunson, 41, and then like 38 the next game. I mean, this dude is just putting the team on his back, and if they're able to get Luka back, it's a fucking done deal, man.
He's questionable for Game 4, right?
I heard that too, yeah.
He's questionable for Game 4. If they get him back, this series is over for Dallas. They're gonna win the series. You and I both said if Doncic was there, I think you and I said Dallas in six.
I said with Luca, Mavs in 7. If not, I
Yeah,
thought the Jazz would sweep them. But
I said Jazz in five, right? Did I say Jazz in five? I think I said Jazz in
with no
five.
Luca, yeah,
Without
something like
Luca.
that.
So the reason I'm also not surprised why they're doing so well, um, I mean, I'm surprised that they're 2-1 in the series, but I mean, like the reason why I'm also like, wow, okay, like I can see why is because Rudy Gobert struggles against perimeter play, like that. Maxi Kleber and Davis
So
Bertans.
ass.
Yeah, dude, he can't like, and that's the thing about him is when, sorry, I got the train passing by me behind me. I don't know if you can hear it.
Oh, you're good.
Okay, I'm good. All right. Um, the struggle is with Utah is when they don't have a guy like Joe Ingles, your perimeter players, if they can't defend outside and they're beat to the punch on the dribble penetration, so guys beat you, what Rudy has to do is close. And oftentimes when he's closing and he's protecting and anchoring the paint, it's not against the guy. It's not off of a guy who's sitting in the dunker spot. It's a Maxi Kleber, it's a Dwight Powell, or it's a Davis Bertans. All guys who are capable of hitting the outside shot. And that's what's made Dallas so good since they traded Kristaps Porzingis, is because they have guys who specifically play to the strengths of the ball handlers on the Dallas side. So Jalen Brunson's dribble penetration has been so freaking good this series. Spencer Dinwiddie has been solid, right? When you lose, like that's why I think they brought in Spencer because when you have Luca go out and you still have two guys who are very capable of creating off the dribble and creating offense, all of the shooters are going to be the beneficiaries because the defense has to react to close, and then the basic in and out play happens. You pitch it out to a shooter, and they bang that on your face, right? Pause.
I wasn't gonna say.
Um, dude, did you hear what Charles Barkley said the last night?
When you're bagging dudes or
Dude,
whatever.
hey, and you feel their bodies, and then Shaq was just like, that was one of the funniest segments, bro, because he just paused. He goes, "Come on, man." Yeah, dude, like Dallas has been so fun to watch, man, and Utah is like
They've peaked with this group definitely. Like
they're the
it's
Kyle
a
Lowry,
good
DeMar
group.
DeRozan of the West.
That is a perfect analogy. Yeah.
It is what it is. And it's too bad because I really would have liked Utah to have some success because a small market team. I think Quinn Snyder is a great coach, but I think he's probably on the hot seat after this
Oh,
season.
he's definitely getting the boot unless they
Yeah,
unless
which is
they
unfortunate
make
because
it
he's a
out.
great coach.
Oh,
He's a
Quinn
great
Snyder is
coach.
going to be the next Lakers coach, probably.
Ooh, I think that's a hot take in itself. That would be interesting if he was. But anyways, like I'm sure you'll have some more to add, but that's pretty much where I'm going with it. I mean, I think Dallas's play style neutralizes exactly what Utah's really good at, and it when you can't defend dribble penetration, and then your big guy helps and recovers, and that's his strength. Um, and then you have shooters all around you, so it makes it much harder for him to recover because he's just obviously 7'3" and a much slower player. Your defensive principles have to change. And unfortunately, they live and die by what Rudy does for them on the back end. So, what can you do? What can you do?
100%. I think, man, it's just you know how fucking demoralizing it is if you're paying a guy $200 million and he can't even close out games because he's getting played off the floor.
Yep.
That's disgusting, and I think it's just showing that Rudy Gobert is cool and all, but why the fuck's he Defensive Player of the Year finalist if he gets played off the fucking floor? Not gonna lie though,
Yeah.
Jalen Brunson definitely getting a fat bag this year, and I agree. I think I'm not gonna lie. I was on the fence about the Porzingis trade, but seeing it come to fruition, it's way better. The team I think flows a lot more. it's not as clogged up with the fact that Kristaps obviously has the ability to stretch the floor, but I don't think he moves as well off the ball or is as good as spotting up as the guys they have right now.
And he's
Maxi
awful
Kleber's.
defensively.
Oh,
He's awful
100%.
defensively.
Dwight Powell is an amazing defender, another Canadian man. Uh,
Yeah.
I'm not going to lie, I can't wait to talk about the potential Canada team once the season's over and we get off to that other stuff. But, no, I just think that and, Jason Kidd's. That's a former Bucks coach. That's the guy who gave Giannis the confidence to be the point guard. So, I love me some Jason Kidd. That and he's one of the greatest point guards of all time. I think he's coached an amazing series so far, and I'm excited to see them close this out. I think the Mavs take them out in the next 2 games. I think it goes to 5.
Yeah, I agree with that. I can't see a reason why they can't, especially if
You,
Luca
you,
comes back in any one of the 2 games. They have the momentum. Unless Donovan Mitchell blows up, which he's capable of doing in the playoffs.
I,
But
I
he's
think
been
no, it's
neutralized.
just
So
the other players aren't doing shit. Mike Conley ain't been on shit.
what? Are we really surprised that Mike Conley isn't doing jack?
No, he's
Like
old.
he's not good anymore.
He
He made the All-Star team out of pity, bruh.
he's in he's in the hall of very good point guards. He's been a solid guy all throughout his career. He anchored a lot of those, grit and grind squads. But there comes a time when we've all seen that meme of Master Splinter holding the turtles as their younglings,
Yeah.
and then once they're older, that's Mike Conley's ass, man. Mike Conley, amazing point guard, amazing career, but if he's your starting point guard when you already have a small backcourt as it is, can only go so far.
Yeah, very difficult. And yeah, it's not a very good defensive team outside of Rudy Gobert. Like, there's nobody on the perimeter. Royce O'Neal,
Oh,
but
losing Joe Ingles, I think, has a lot to do with that too, because
yeah, you lose your
Joe
best
Ingles is
perimeter
amazing.
defender.
Yeah.
He's obviously a really good playmaker, so your guys can play off the ball. And he's a really good perimeter shooter, and he's basically the heart of what that team does, right? And Joe Ingles fuels a lot of that. Losing him is obviously such a huge hit. It's tough to say anything really positive around Utah because they've just been like, even though they won that game,
It's just been so disappointing, like the past few years. And it's just like,
yeah, it's like like we said, it's DeMar and Kyle of the Western Conference, and I think they've reached that ceiling. Something's got to happen this summer, which I think will happen. Um, you know, I think I just want to give so much more credit to Dallas this series. They've just been so good. Um, I mean, they've Jason Kidd's coached a hell of a series,
oh,
and
I definitely think their success is more predicated on the fact that they're firing on all cylinders rather than the Jazz are playing shitty. I think it's just amplified by the fact that the Jazz are playing shitty, but
yeah, yeah.
Jason Kidd's coaching an amazing series.
Yeah, they made the right adjustments, and like what they do so well, I think they kind of prepared themselves for this. Is they play when they traded Chris Stapps, they said, "All right, you know what? Let's just go fully in on the offensive end, and let's just have all this firepower. Let's just spread the floor like crazy." Because Chris Stapps was obviously a hindrance on the defensive end, even though he's a big, tall guy. It's very difficult because he wasn't very good defensively. It just is what it is. So, excuse me. Yeah, when they went full offense by bringing in Davis Bertans and Spencer Dinwiddie, I mean, I think everybody just kind of took off, right? This is a team that shares the ball really well. And then don't forget, like, Dorian Finney-Smith is also a really good two-way player.
Oh yeah,
He's been
not
a
gonna
really
lie
good.
though, he took some. A lot of the shots he shot last game were so bad. But
Yeah, they
no,
were at.
there's a reason he got that nice extension.
Yeah, he
He's a
guards
guy
the,
that
he
fits in
guards the
nicely.
opposing team's best player. It
Mm.
is what it is.
That and
So,
he plays so well with Luca.
yeah, 100%.
But that's been us looking at these first bits of the first round. I mean, first of all, playoff basketball is the fucking shit.
Yep.
Before we wrap up, though, Reuben, I'm curious. Who would you say is the playoff MVP so far?
Ooh.
I guess I'll go first. For me,
Yeah, you go ahead. You go
I
first.
think without a doubt, it's Jordan Poole right now. We're going to look back years later and you're going to list their team, Steph Curry, Hall of Famer, Klay Thompson, Hall of Famer, Andre Iguodala, best shooter of all time, fate of the universe, Draymond Green, one of the best defenders of all time. All this firepower that they have, and we're going to look back and say, but Jordan Poole, he was the best offensive player on that team. He's not necessarily that he's outplaying, but just the fact that actually, I will say outplay. He's not that that's like it's not even that it's a crazy margin, but just how he's able to get to the basket at will, how he's able to help stretch the floor, create his own shot. He is being a better offensive weapon for this team right now than the greatest shooter of all time and the second greatest shooter of all time. I think what he's doing so far is just crazy, and whoever made that take that he's the worst pick of the draft so far needs to be fired.
That's
Jordan
CBS
Poole,
analyst. Suck my ass.
I know, holy fuck. Like, for real? Jordan Poole, oh man, it's so sad to think, but it's also exciting as fuck when he does become the face of this offense and he does become the face of this team.
Dude, the fact that he's doing this with all of them on that
I
squad,
that's the even bigger thing. The fact that he's playing alongside all these guys and still getting his is amazing.
which is why I think I initially had Phoenix, but if Jordan Poole continues to play this well while giving Steph the chance to rest and recover,
It's fucking over,
there's no
though.
way in
It's
hell
over.
that you can. Yeah, I don't think you can really. I don't think you can bet against the Golden State Warriors this season. At least making out of the West. I don't know about winning the chip, um, but dude, yeah. Um,
If Draymond Green can neutralize the MVP, he can sure as hell neutralize DeAndre Ayton's ass. That's all I know.
yeah, I would love to see Draymond in that series. I think like what he does is control the pace on both ends, like a lot of what Chris Paul does. So it's gonna be cool to see him do it
Oh
from a
yeah,
different.
those two guys that obviously aren't renowned for their offensive, but what they're able to do in terms of organizing their offenses is
Yeah, incredible. Um, Trying to think of my playoff MVP, bro. I mean, you took Poole, so I'll try and go a different direction here. And I'm flipping in between, but I'm going to give it to Tyrese Maxey just because he has played like so well through the 3 games. Nobody expected. Everyone said he was going to be an X factor. Some people said he was too good to be an X factor. Regardless of what you think, James and Joel haven't really played great games this series. And he's been the one consistent in all three, making big plays or scoring big and being the main offensive option when those two guys have been neutralized to some degree. So yeah, for me it's Tyrese Maxey because listen, a lot of analysts also said, hey, Toronto could very well win this in a long series. Tyrese Maxey ended up playing like an all star for the first 3 games. And now it's a 3-0 lead for Philly. And obviously watching those games a lot more closer than the others, it's just easier for me to pick Tyrese Maxey because they did not have an answer for him all series long. They still haven't. I think Malachi Flynn has actually been their best perimeter defender, and Fred
when
Van Vliet
he's
is.
your best perimeter. Oh fuck.
He's actually very good. I would say that he
Mm.
defended James Harden really well the last game, but it's obviously it's difficult because Gary Trent is still recovering from sickness. Scotty Barnes was a guy who would have defended the primary ball handler as well, and Fred is playing on a bum knee, and he's been getting beat on every action. Um, and that's also why I wanted to say, like, why the hell didn't Nick Nurse make the adjustment to switch Fred off Tyrese Maxey in the first place? Because clearly Fred can't stay in front of him on one knee right now. But yeah, Tyrese Maxey has eaten the Raptors alive. They haven't had an answer, and he's been awesome to watch. I mean, he dropped 38 points in game two, blow them out when your star players are struggling. So yeah, I would have given it Jordan Poole, but I want it to be different. So yeah, Tyrese Maxey is mine.
I respect. I'm not gonna lie. I don't think it'd be so drastic and so crazy to put those two in the same boat. Where
Yeah,
Tyrese Maxey is arguably outplaying uh, NBA 75er and one of the craziest, most versatile, and best centers we've ever seen play the game.
Yeah.
But regardless, with that, this has been another episode of the Blacktop Podcast. We hope you guys are enjoying this. If you made it this far, like, subscribe, follow, all that goody shit. Now, we hope you guys are enjoying the playoffs as much as we are. Reuben, you got anything to say, bro?
Gotta say, continue enjoying the playoffs. Stick with us because we'll be here with giving our takes. We promise you we'll get Christian back on here soon. Please feel better, bro.
100%.
And we'll get the Blacktop Showdown back, man. We definitely got to have that back in here where we debate Bob Cousy versus Kyrie Irving. I can't wait for that.
Gonna be a banger.
Yeah, man. Thank you guys for always tuning in, and it's to however many people are listening. It means a lot to us that you guys are tuning in, and we're just 2 and 3 random guys from British Columbia, and you guys are tuning in, so we appreciate that, yo.
Yeah, Vancouver, and not Coquitlam and Surrey. Vancouver. Now, with that, stay safe, stay blessed. We'll see y'all soon.